Okay, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be machining the Volkswagen 94mm jugs to fit in the Corvair. Now, here's a Corvair jug. You notice the bolt pattern. Now if we hold that up alongside a 94mm jug, you'll see that the two top bolts are pretty close, but the two bottom bolts obviously are different. So we have to put in two new holes in the bottom. Also, this area right here is a little fat, so we have to clearance that a little bit. Some guys use a hand grinder. I'm going to do it with a 7/16 ball mill, just so I can, get the mill in there and just make a nice clean, accurate cut, and less chance of screwing up parts. The reason for going to 94mm Volkswagen jugs is real simple. If you want to increase the displacement on a Corvair, you can stroke them somewhat, but it gets very difficult. The cam is kind of close to the crankshaft, and that's the big limiting factor. But if you want to increase the bore, like I said, here is a stock Corvair jug, and you see it fits inside the 94mm jug. So in addition to changing the bolt holes, we also have to open up the Corvair case to accept the larger 94mm jug. But we're very fortunate in that the head studs are placed just barely out far enough so that we can get away with this without having to reposition the studs. Okay, so we're going to get going. I'm going to start by locking this up into the vise here and using my ball mill to add a little extra clearance. Then we're going to get rid of the vise. I have a fixture that's made out of a Corvair engine case. We'll bolt that down with a plate across the top here, a guide just for putting in the holes. It's not real critical. You can just eyeball where the holes go. I mean, if you're off 5/10 thousandths of an inch, it's not going to be any big deal. I mean, there's enough room in there. So let's get started. Okay. This is just a piece of shim stock here. That's just to protect the head gasket surface from the edges of the jaw of the chuck. I'm going to set this in here and just kind of eyeball it up. Try to get this up at the very top. And I just kind of by feel go for getting this thing straight. We'll crank her down there pretty good. That's good. I've got my 7/16 ball mill in. Now what we'll do, oil the Bridgeport, bring the table up. Here we go. I've got this sideways, and I'm just eyeballing it into the center of this groove here. Now, I'll get that just a little bit off of the cylinder there, and I'm going to set my stop. There we go. Okay, we're going to take that just a little bit further. Now I'm going to make it just a little bit wider, so I'm going to move the table just a few thousandths. There we go. I'm going to call that good. Okay, and so you can see what we've done here. As compared to the way it is stock. Okay, so we just have to do that now 24 more times, to do that twice on all 6 of the jugs. Then we'll put the other fixture up and we'll start making the new holes. You always have to check this distance, because as we put this jug in, the fins here will hold it up at different heights, just very slightly, but so you always have to check this distance. You can't just trust this to be the same. I suppose I could make a custom fixture with V-blocks to where we could lock it down and be the same all the time and make this operation a lot faster and easier. But we just don't do that many of them to warrant that sort of expense. We just take a little extra time doing each one. These 2 jugs that were painted were purchased used. These are the stroker piston kits for the, I believe, 88 millimeter stroke on the Volkswagen big bore, and they just are not available anymore locally. Nobody have them. I had a set of 4 for this motor. I just needed 2 more, so we managed to scrounge up 2 used pistons and jugs. You know, but they were in terrific shape, and it doesn't matter. We're going to stress plate hone the jugs to make sure they're straight and round on our Corvair motor, and the pistons have been coated with the anti-friction coating on the skirt and a thermal barrier coating on the deck. So the fact that they were used makes no difference, so long as they hadn't been abused to you know, with detonation or excessive heat or anything like that, and they were inspected and they were just fine. They came out of a dune buggy, a street-driven dune buggy, so they were pretty good. Okay, now it's time to change over, get this out of the way, get our fixture in here, and start making the second set of holes. Okay, we got our fixture in the Bridgeport locked down, just an old engine case. We're just lining up off the front edge here to square it up. It's not real critical. I have a couple of a couple of pins put in here. They're 3/8 16 thread. They go down in here just to simulate the head studs coming up, so that when I put this on, there's a little bit of wiggle room. We want to make sure that things are lined up right. Here I have a plate, and this is a piece of scrap. I just put the head bolt pattern in, and it's cut a little bit tighter probably than it should be, because it's really kind of tough to get it in there and on. But there she goes. Now what we'll do is we'll start with a drill. Here we go, and I'll zero my X and Y. We'll just start by drilling a hole here, doing the same thing here. Yeah, I'm going to slow down my speed a little bit here on the Bridgeport head. Again, just eyeballing this up is close enough. Normally we'd never let a part move around. You see it shaking just a tiny bit. We'd normally never let it move around like that. But again, we're drilling these bolt holes. This is nothing real critical. If you're off a few thousandths, you know, it really doesn't matter. And we'll get this off. Get this off here. Now you can see how our holes drilled right through here, came down through this. Now what we'll have to do is next put this back into Bridgeport and hit it with that ball mill again to complete. We're just going to go ahead, throw these back into each one, back into the vise, use the ball end mill along here, and then these will be ready to slam into a Corvair motor. Okay, so we got the holes in here. Now what we have to do is open up a slot all the way out here and add a little clearance. So you know what? I'm going to pick up the speed a little bit. Right here I raised it up just a few thousandths of an inch because we're getting to the narrower part of the stud. We need more clearance down at the bottom than we need in the rest of it, so I'll leave a little extra meat in the cylinder this way. These little points here, and all they are just stress risers. So I'm going to move the table over and just knock them off because they don't do any good for us. As I get near the base, I want to move in a little bit. I don't want to make the base too thin here for too wide an area. Okay, that's the first cut. Now we just think we just have another 23 of these to do, and we'll have all 6 of these ready to install. Sometimes after you've done this, you might have to touch up a clearance just a touch, just a little bit with a die grinder, but this should be pretty good. you know, the Corvair studs are kind of long and lanky and kind of bend and twist around, and it's not like they're all installed in the same spot on each case. They're close, but they're not quite exactly the same. So we're going to flip this around, do the other slot on this, and then we're going to test fit it on our fixture to make sure it fits on there. Okay, and now we pull it out, test it, make sure it fits, and we only have to do this 5 more times. Okay, now we take our freshly machined jug and see how she fits. These holes up the top here are a little tight. They're just barely the right size. We could make them a little bit bigger. But there we go. Fits down in there real nice. Perfect fit. Fits on here. It's no guarantee it'll fit on our motor. You know, we'll have to put it on the motor, mark up with a little bit of layout dye. There might be a little bit of touch up we have to do here or there, because like I said, Chevy didn't put these studs in the same exact spot each time. They're kind of close, but not in the exact same spot. So anyhow, that was one, and we edited this for time. Just 5 more to do. Okay, you can see that we're all cleaned up from our machining earlier. We had cast iron dust all over the place. The next step is to take each of these jugs one at a time, get them all cleaned up, a little bit of oil on the cylinder surface, then stick each one, and each one will be numbered so they'll go into the same spot. Get this in here, push that on. We have a fixture that goes on over here to hold the jug down in place. We'll take a single connecting rod and piston, the same one, put it into each hole, put that plate on, measure the deck height, do that on all of them. What we're trying to do is we want the piston to come right up to the head gasket surface. We want 0 deck height, maybe even 1 or 2 thousandths out of the jug. We're going to use a 40 thousandths thick copper head gasket, and we're really looking to place the piston no closer than 35 thousandths to the cylinder head. But we want it fairly close to that, but I like to be a little bit on the safe side, so between 35 and 40 thousandths, shooting a little closer to 40, that way it gives us a little safety margin. Okay, that's going to help with our compression, it's going to help with detonation resistance, it's going to help with the thermal efficiency, it's going to help with everything on this. Now, after we measure the deck height on each individual cylinder using the same connecting rod and piston and bearing, then each one will be marked how much it has to be shortened. We'll pull these back off, we'll put them on the lathe, and we have tooling where we'll shorten them on the block side. Okay, we'll shorten them up, put them back in, measure them again. Then once we're satisfied that that's right, and again, they're all going to be numbered so they all go back in the same exact place, these will be put into a fixture and a stress plate put on to simulate the cylinder head, you know, holding them in place. And we're going to stick this in a CK10. And in the CK10, we're going to hone the cylinders to try to make them, you know, round and straight. Because I guarantee you that they're not round and straight the way they come from the factory. So we're going to make them round and straight as they're torqued in on the engine. Then we're also going to use a profilometer and measure the crosshatch surface. We're looking, we want to make sure we have deep enough and wide enough valleys with the proper plateau area and not too much on the peak. I mean, you can't do that by looking. The only way you can make sure that you have a really solid hone is by using a profilometer. It drags a little diamond across the surface and it measures the surface precisely. So we're done with drilling the holes in these, and gosh, it only took what, a couple of hours to do the 6 jugs. But anyhow, we're done with this part. Next part is going to be putting them in our motor, measuring deck height, shortening them, and then truing them up in the CK10. Okay, we'll see you later.